Let's begin with the AM News 9. Ghana's cocoa sector is sinking. Revenues are falling below accepted levels, with production numbers by more than 50% in just 4 years. A special report by Joe News Research shows the country is gradually losing its weight on the global cocoa market, posing significant threats to the economy and the stability of the city.
Ghana, the world's second largest producer of cocoa, has seen its 2024 export earnings plummet to $1.7 billion, the lowest in 15 years. An analysis of data from the Bank of Ghana shows that cocoa export earnings have fallen below the $2 billion mark, representing a sharp 25.4% decline in just a year.
Gold, cocoa and crude oil are Ghana's top 3 foreign exchange earners. However, the cocoa sector is unique. This is because Ghana retains over 90% of the foreign exchange generated. This happens because the Ghana Cocoa Board controls the entire cocoa sector, unlike the gold and crude oil markets where private players dominate. This means that cocoa is crucial to Ghana's economy. Therefore, any shocks in the cocoa sector would have far-reaching consequences.
This drop is largely attributed to dwindling production, which has shrunk by over 11% within the same period. The decline in forex inflows from cocoa is exacerbated by illegal mining activities, smuggling, and crop diseases, all of which have significantly impacted yields.
It is a difficult situation for the country at the moment, where we've not been able to find lasting solution to illegal mining, activities. And I mean, if you look at the situation, more than 5 regions have been affected by illegal mining activities, and majority of these regions are places where cocoa farming also goes on. And so, in fact, if you go to the Ashanti region and parts of the Western region, for instance, you see a cocoa farm on one side, illegal mining sites also on the other side.
In just 3 years, Ghana's cocoa output has fallen from over 1 million metric tons in 2021 to slightly above 500,000 tons in 2024.
There are actually a cocktail of factors affecting Ghana's cocoa sector. And over the years, or over the past 5 years, we've seen production coming down from as high as over 1 million tons a year to now roughly a little bit above 500,000 tons. And this is simply because of the illegal mining activities going on in the country, also coupled with smuggling activities. For instance, we've looked at the data, and you cannot be losing on average 150,000 tons to smuggling and still expect to get more revenues from cocoa exports.
This dramatic reduction has also weakened the country's ability to secure favorable terms in the syndicated loan market.
For many years, the Ghana Cocoa Board has relied on syndicated loans, essentially large loans obtained from a group of banks to finance its operations. With an average syndicated loan of $1 billion to $1.8 billion, it became increasingly difficult for Ghana to reassure investors that we have enough cocoa beans to pay back these loans. As a result, the Ghana Cocoa Board has shifted its focus to self-financing. But with an almost non-existent local bond market and tight fiscal conditions, payment to farmers has become relatively slow. And as a result, most times, this has increased the effects of smuggling.
Despite Ghana and its western neighbor, Cote d'Ivoire, jointly accounting for over 60% of global cocoa production, both nations have struggled to benefit from the recent surge in global cocoa prices due to forward sales agreement. In 2024, global cocoa prices soared by a record 157%. Yet, Ghana recorded its lowest export revenue since 2010. The country's cocoa earnings have been on a downward trend since 2022, when production and export volumes started to decline. In October 2024, a Joy News Research report projected that cocoa export earnings would fall below $2 billion, a development that has now materialized.
We definitely saw this coming. I mean, we started observing the data right from the beginning of last season, somewhere 2023. and it was clear that it was going to be difficult for the country to make that 2 billion threshold in terms of cocoa export revenues. And so usually around October, export revenues should be hitting somewhere around $1.7 or $1.6 billion. But in 2023-2024 season, something different happened where in August we were still recording below $1 billion dollars in terms of the cocoa export revenue. And so it was clear that Ghana wasn't going to meet or cross the 2 billion threshold.
With earnings dipping below this critical threshold, Ghana's already fragile economy faces increased pressure. The continued decline in cocoa revenue is expected to further strain the Ghanaian cedi, worsening the nation's fiscal challenges.
Now, the opposition NPP is pushing back against the special prosecutor's declaration of former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta as a fugitive and a wanted person. Addressing a news conference, the NPP's national organizer, Nana Boache, described the OSP's declaration as unreasonable, stating that the OSP was aware of Ofori-Atta's medical trip to the U.S. in January and had been informed by his doctors that he would return to Ghana in March. The party also condemned the raid at Ken Ofori-Atta's residence by national security personnel, vowing to reject any form of harassment, but assured its members it will cooperate with state officials.
Traveled on the 2nd of January, and your letter to him came in on the 24th of January. So how could the man be labeled as a fugitive when he was already in the country? Indeed, he was not even the finance minister about 8 months before the elections. And you, Mr. Kise Jaben, you were the special prosecutor. And he was in the country throughout. For 8 months to the election, you could not invite the person. The person steps out of the country for medical attention. And it is not as if you wrote to the person before he traveled. Your letter came 2 weeks after he had traveled. And yet, you unreasonably labeled this person as a fugitive. Very, very, very unreasonable. To avoid any misunderstanding, since he was appointed Minister of Finance in 2017, Mr. Ofori-Atta has consistently demonstrated unwavering transparency and respect in response to all legal inquiries and state investigation involving him. Let it be known that the New Patriotic Party and our members are law-abiding and will cooperate fully with any state institution. But however, we will reject any form of political harassment.
Now, Health Minister Kwabena Minta Kando has admonished health workers in the country to religiously follow the ethics of their profession. Though he commended the health workers in the country for putting up their best despite the harsh economic conditions, he is, however, unhappy about the behavior of some health workers, especially nurses, who go contrary to the ethics of their profession. He warned nurses who are involved in the act to desist from the act because they will be made to face the full rigors of the law. Kwabena Minta Kando gave the warning at Nadoli as part of his day's visit to the region.
At a meeting with staff and management of the Nadolu District Hospital and the Rapid Response Team, Acting Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Professor Samuel Kaba Akoria, wove a personal story about how he overcame meningitis some 50 years ago.
He lost some of his colleagues. There were no nurses, no hospital, no doctors, just a health post at the time we called them. His parents had to walk long distance, and 9 days later they had him registered in a clinic in Navrongo because the father is from Navrongo. They believe in helping so much, and they poured so much into the child, hoping that one day he will be somebody else. And today that child is the one standing before you. as your acting director general.
He urged the staff to take a cue from his experience and put their best foot forward in their quest to delivering quality health care to the people.
Each one of us, if we put our part to save our children, to save our community, trust me, they are actually the future of this country.
Health Minister Kobina Menta Akando, shortly before he handed over drugs to help in the fight against the disease, commended health workers in the region for their commitment to duty and urged them to continue on that tangent to bring smiles to the faces of their patients. He however warned personnel who will go contrary to the ethics of the profession.
Let me also caution the few bad nuts amongst us, especially the way we handle our patients. We usually get these feedbacks that the patients go to the hospitals and they are shouted upon, they are insulted, and they are not handled well. I know most of you are fantastic people, professionals, but there are very few ones amongst us. Those of you who are fond of doing that, I beg of you, please stop it. Because going forward, the truth of the matter is that we will not countenance on that.
The health minister then paid a whistle-stop visit to the Lolo Queen of Peace Senior High School, where one of the students contracted the disease.
If you have, between 30 to 40 people in a classroom, it's still not very spacious. But what you need to know is that you've recorded a case in your school, and so you have to take the necessary precautionary measures. That is what is important. Put measures in place. If your dining hall is small, you can do it in batches. It's not raining. You can even decide to eat in the open. Okay? So put the measures in place. You know your situation best. If you need any advice, the medical doctors and the district directors are all here. They can assist you.
The Upper West region has so far recorded 94 suspected cases, 19 confirmed cases with 14 deaths. Reporting for the news, Rafik Salam, Nadoli.
Well, engineers from the Electricity Company of Ghana have successfully installed a high-capacity transformer at the production site of the Anwomaso bulk supply point to meet the current and future electricity demand in Greater Kumasi. The installation of the 145 megavolt amperes transformer to replace the existing 66 megavolt amperes transformer has been hailed as a right step to partly solve the current erratic power supply being experienced in the Ashanti region. General Manager of Ashanti SAP Transmission Engineer Peter Fletcher reviewed electricity supply in Aguna, Mampong, Bekwai, Kuntunasi, Ejiso, Efidiase, among others, will be impacted positively by the new installation. There is more in the following report.
The 66 MVA transformers at Anwomaso bulk supply point until now were sometimes stretched to their maximum loading capacity due to an increase in demand at peak times. The new 145 megavolt amperes transformer, which replaces one of the 66 MVA transformers, is to help improve supply capacity and reliability in the region, with electricity needs of residents of Greater Kumasi expected to be taken care of. Engineers from both Gridco and Electricity Company of Ghana have been working to lay all cables, energize and install the transformer to make it readily available for use. Officials of the ECG hope the installation of the new transformer will also allow easier transfer of customers from Ridge bulk supply point in case of fault management. General Manager of Ashanti SAP Transmission, Engineer Peter Fletcher, tells Joy News the installation of the new transformer will, to a large extent, partly help solve erratic power supply experienced in the Ashanti region.
We are upgrading a particular transformer from 66 MVA to 145 MVA at the Gridco end. Okay, now basically what this means is that we are increasing the capacity, electricity capacity in Kumasi to meet the current demand and future demand. To realize even in Kumasi, the developed areas, some structures are even springing up, storage buildings are coming up, and Kumasi as well is spreading. looking at the existing capacity we have, it was really tight. So this work we are doing is to increase the capacity at this particular BSP to meet the demand currently and future demands. But this is not to say that it will entirely eliminate pockets of outages. We are running a line where we have transformers, connecting points, poles, and all that, where third parties are breaking our lines, knocking our poles down, and all that. So those may still persist. But in terms of loading, where because of a fault, a cost cannot be supplied, we can comfortably transfer. Where because of demand, we cannot even supply. Now I have enough capacity here to supply. So for that one, we assure the people of Kumasi that for transfer of flows due to faults and all that, you can comfortably do it.
Meanwhile, Engineer Fletcher is courting public support in dealing with third-party interference on ECG installations, which he says goes a long way to affect the power supply chain.
Last year, February, we had about 8 of our pylons being toppled at Ajiejiso. And this one, we had people vandalize, removing only the motor nuts. When these are calculated and everything switching forward. Last year also we had Bekwai, a car running into one of our pylons. So it means that immediately the supply to Bekwai was cut.
Now, the Central Regional Minister is debunking claims that the Central Region is one of the poorest regions in the country. The Minister, Edua called Payne Ochre, emphatically shut down the claim and stated that the region is wealthy in its resources and people. Speaking at his maiden meeting with the staff of the Central Regional Coordinating Council, Mr. Edua Ochre called on the people of the region and the media to project a good image of the region.
We were journalists during his first meeting with the staff of the Central Regional Coordinating Council. The Central Regional Minister, Honorable Edua Payne Ochre, expressed disagreement at the idea that the Central Region is one of the poorest regions in Ghana. He tasked the people in the media to dispose the notion and focus instead on projecting the positive image of the region.
The notion that Central Region, I am vehemently opposing it. I'm not comfortable when I hear that. But I remember by 2020, a survey showed that we are the 4th richest region in Ghana. Why are we not projecting that and talking about something that existed decades ago? So we are rich. We are rich in the people we have. We are rich in the resources we have. We are rich by the grace of God. Central is rich. All that we need to do is to identify where our riches are, and that is the human resource. That's the job we want to create. That is the opportunities we have, the tourist opportunity we have, and the agriculture opportunity we have. We are going to harness them to ensure that we showcase the richness of Central Region. I need all of you on board. Let us do it together.
While addressing the staff of the Coordinating Council, the Minister implored them to collaborate with him in ensuring that administering the region runs smoothly.
I need your support. You cannot do that alone. Look at the number of people we met today. You understand? Some have been here for more than 20 years. And so I expect them to show me the way. They are the technocrats. They know what to do. So I think that until they are ready to support you, you cannot succeed. So I need them. This is a very important message. All those out there, please come on board. Let's work. Let's make Ghana a better place. Let's make Central Region a better place. Central Region is all we have. People talk about Central Region being a poor region. I don't know what surveys brought up that result, but I believe that if we put ourselves together, we can change the narrative as early as possible.
The acting coordinating director of the Central Regional Coordinating Council, Blaise Kwame Dake, while lauding the minister, assured him of the council's unwavering support to aid the minister in performing his duties. He also shared some words of advice with the staff.
Sabi orumam bizarre. This I was na ya wadwen there. E betina ho dem na ebi ananche the down na emre abade Kenya ho. You have to give off the best you can with passion. It may be is a passion ka ho a you show bia na yedwuma. To motivate yourself, self-motivation. It is the honorable minister.
Reporting for Joy News, Abigail Nkrumah, Regional Coordinating Council, Cape Coast.
Well, it's that time of the year again. Red roses, chocolate, and love is in the air. But beyond the romance, Valentine's Day is also big business. This year, however, traders at La Paz Market say sales have been slow, blaming the rising cost of goods. My colleague Esther Nkrumah visited the market to find out more.
Valentine's Day, a time for love, gifts and special moment. But for some, this year feels different.
Yeah, but this year, I don't know. Yes, I don't know. Wait, tell me.
Anybody. Fatima isn't expecting any gifts this season. Not because she doesn't love the celebration, but because she recently ended her relationship.
What's the best Valentine's Day gifts you received?
Wow, last year. Oh, wallahi.
What did you receive last year?
Hey, Telebed, the biggest one. Yeah, but this year, I don't know. Yes, I don't know. Wait, tell me.
So you haven't received anything from anybody. But are you hoping that somebody will give you something?
Yes, yeah, I'm sure. Inshallah, I'm sure. I really liked champagne. Oh, Pompia, I really like it.
Traders here in La Paz say sales have been slow, blaming the rising cost of goods, especially chocolate.
Sales in this day, almost 2 weeks in. Beside the Umbisapa.
We started our Valentine sales 2 weeks ago, but business has been quite slow. Many people come in to ask about prices, but only a few actually make a purchase. The number of inquiries far exceeds the number of sales. In previous years, prices were relatively lower, and some customers even paid for their items in advance. However, this year, prices have increased significantly, especially for chocolates.
We'll bring the full report, in the show. So just stay for the full report as we progress today on the AM show. But time for us to bring you the business update, and Sweetie Abochi is here with it.
In a very first story, tax consultant Francis Timor-Boy has backed calls for a removal of all forms of tax exemptions in the 2025 budget expected to be read in March. According to him, over the period, tax exemptions cost the country close to 4% GDP, as against a total tax collection of 14% GDP, which is far below what other developing countries are collecting. Speaking to Joy Business, Mr. Timor-Boy said there is a need to review the tax exemption laws to improve revenue mobilization.
The parliament that ended recently, you recall the amount of exemption that some companies were seeking. But over the period, our tax exemption alone contributed about close to 4% of our GDP. Meanwhile, total tax to GDP is just around 14%, far below countries that you are even supposed to be described as better. Botswana and then Chad are the companies that we are, within the ranges with. Of course, Nigeria is they have enough resources. So when it comes to tax to GDP ratio, we say that they have some amount of resources. Globally, you are supposed to get a minimum of 15%. We have never crossed that. It is in 2024 that, looking at the GRA report that they have released, I'm told that if you do the calculation, we have jumped to 17%, which is a very fantastic, measure. So we need to do more. We are not doing well when it comes to the tax collection that we have in Ghana. I mean, you cannot be compared with countries like Chad when it comes to your tax collection.
In other business news, Minister of Food and Agriculture, Eric Opoku, has indicated that government will launch the Feed Ghana campaign as a measure to increase food production in the country. He insists that as part of the initiative, government is engaging regional directors and ministers to ensure that every senior high school begins farming to aid in feeding. Speaking to the media after a meeting with some regional ministers, Agric Minister Eric Opoku said this is part of a broader strategy to ensure food sufficiency.
We are rolling out a multiple of strategies to achieve one target, food sufficiency. Under the Feed Ghana program, for the major program is the Feed Ghana program. We want to feed Ghana. Feed Ghana means we want to feed the people of Ghana as well as industries in Ghana. And so under the Feed Ghana, we have Feed the People and Feed the Industry. Under the Feed the People program, we are saying that we are going to encourage every Ghanaian, including you journalists, that wherever you live, you must have a home garden where you can plant some pepper, some tomato, some garden eggs, to reduce the cost of feeding in this country. So we are going to launch that big campaign, and we expect you to support us in that cause, to get every Ghanaian to take advantage of the rich soil that you have to plant something in the house. Then after that, we've also issued letters to all the secondary schools in this country. The letters have gone to our regional directors, and we are also engaging with all the regional ministers. We want every secondary school in Ghana.
Now let's take a look at what's happening on the commodity market. And that does it for the business updates on the AM News Bulletin, but handing over back to Samuel Kojo Brace.
All right, thank you very much, Sutia Bochi. At least you bring some spice on the channel on Valentine's Day. You know. All right, so do stay with us. We're up next with a news review.